This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, I'm here with my only friends, and that includes Tortu!
Let's go.
What's poppin', sidekick? How you feeling today? Don't worry, I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna work you back in there. I'm trying to think of a way to get Tortua and the sidekick in, and then his little buddies, but I gotta figure it out. I'm gonna mold it all together. Don't you worry, buddy.
I was just thinking there can't be another show on the internet that opens with the two minor characters getting all the shine.
Minor characters?
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Fucking guy.
Who the fuck does this guy think he is?
Guapo, cut his mic.
Cut his camera,
Get
too.
him out here. Don't you have a heads up match to go play?
Do something. Go do something with yourself.
Seriously.
What's wrong with this guy?
Wow. A lot,
Very aggressive today.
lot to say.
Hi, Hut.
Listen.
That's the most the two of you have had to say all year.
Don't get the tortoise fired up, baby.
That's how you work them in.
He's cooking with that red shell.
That's right.
We got a big show today. We're joined by the one and only Matt Hunt, lead content creator and instructor here at Solve for Why Academy. We're going to be dissecting a lot of the hands so far played in this Nick Airball heads up match. We have about 10 today that we're going to try to get through. But before we get to that, we have a few things that we want to discuss as far as housekeeping cleaning goes. New course out today on Solve for Why TV by Ewan McNichols. McNicholas, you're right. My apologies.
I got to do the names, man. You can't.
Man, the funny thing is I even knew I was going to get that wrong. I looked at it this morning. I go, oh, McNicholas. That seems like two first names. And then I got here and it was just like immediately McNichols. But yeah, he has a new course out called Deep Stack 3-Bet Pots. So this course is going to start at all the way back at pre-flop and work its way through the river, navigating some of the tough decisions that you'll have when the SPR is deep. I think we have a preview for that right now.
My name is Ewan Nicholas, and welcome to my first course for Solve for Why. Deep 3-bet pots are critical to study if you're playing live cash games. In this course, we will firstly establish the differences in pre-flop ranges as stacks get deeper. We'll then take a look at some different flop strategies with extra focus on c-betting. Then we'll look at turn and river strategies, and finally we'll look at some real life hand examples. We need to remember that our goal isn't to implement the solver strategy exactly, but to take away key themes and trends that we can use in-game to increase our EV.
You guys.
Okay, so that is currently up on Solve for Why TV. If you want to head over to solveforwhy.io, you can check that out. Get a membership today. Free 2-week trial. If you don't like what you see, you're free to cancel anytime. The first 4 lessons of that course are up currently. 2 more will be added sometime in the near future. Secondly, we also have an academy coming up in 10 days. So April 15th to the 18th. That's our final Poker Out Loud Academy for this year. We're going to go back to the old format in the second half of this year. That is going to be led by myself, Matt, and Landon here in the room. There are 2 seats remaining for that, so head to academy.solveforwhy.io if you're interested in that. We also have a tournament academy right before the World Series starts, May 24th to the 27th. A few seats left for that as well. Matt will be the lead instructor for that one, navigating through 4 days of MTT strategy, basically starting at the beginning, ending at the final table. If you want more information for that, academy.solveforwhy.io. Click the banner above. It will give you all the instructions on the MTT Academy.
I have a TSA, a tortoise service announcement.
Tournament.
What was that tournament? So there's been a couple issues with, well, not issues, but with the app when people. So if you sign up to a subscription through the app, make sure you either create an account, or if you already have an account created with like a free account, make sure you're signed in when you purchase the subscription. Because if you don't, you'll be subscribed as an unregistered user, and then when you try to go to the your computer or a different device and watch something, you won't have access.
Right.
So, and then you have to go back through and
email you,
email
and
me,
then you'll have to yell.
restore the in-app purchase. But there's been a few issues with that. So just make sure that you either create an account or you are logged into your account. And really, if you want to help us out, just go to the website and buy.
Yeah, save us that Apple fee.
Yeah, don't send that extra money to Apple and Google.
This sounds like a La Manager service announcement.
No, okay, well, it is. It's an LSA.
You wear multiple hats.
Right.
This is an LSA.
The tortoise wouldn't give a fuck about
Right,
this.
the tortoise is moving
doesn't
too
care.
slow
Right.
to care about this.
Yeah.
One final thing to get out of the way. There's a new documentary coming out that myself and Landon are actually part of. I think Conrad might even make a cameo or two in there. It's called Dreamers. This is getting put out by Above the Felt. I think we have a trailer for that if you want to roll it.
When you play a poker tournament, 85% of the time you're going home broke.
This is part of the game. You can't be results oriented where you can play well and lose for a long period of time, and you have to be willing to sustain that.
How do you learn to deal with the shit that luck is going to throw in your way? Because, let's face it, it's going to throw some stuff your way.
Right, you just show up, you study, you still lose, and you show up with a smile again tomorrow.
I just set out to play poker. I was like, I want to play poker, win at poker, make some friends. I don't know, get into tournaments, maybe win a big tournament, get rich like everyone else.
These people are your friends, but you're trying to kill them. And then as soon as the game's over, you're all friends again.
They allow you to kind of step back and say, I truly fucking love this game. And it's just a lot of fun to sit down against 7 opponents, compete, and, try to come out on top.
Poker's taught me so much about life. I feel like so many decisions that you make off the table can be influenced by the way that you think about poker.
Poker was the first time where I was able to fail monetarily, feel really bad about it, and still think it's all right because you can learn from everything.
I think it's becoming more a story of resilience, and I hope what this entire content project does is I hope it peels back the curtain of our industry a little bit, peels back the curtain of our community, and you get to see what the best and brightest in this poker industry are all about.
Poker is all about chasing your dreams, taking your shot, and changing your life. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be, in as good a shape as me. You can go out there and, be anybody and be successful.
This is the first pot here at our final table.
When you're faced with adversity, champions rise up.
Jeff Platt, man. Am I right? Jeff fucking Platt. How'd they get him for this thing?
I know, right? Jeez.
What a gig.
Yep. There goes all the profit.
Sure. Dreamers is a new age poker documentary that takes viewers on a journey through the modern world of professional poker. The film follows the industry's best and brightest poker players and influencers as they compete in the first ever WPT World Poker Championship Festival. Through interviews with players themselves, Dreamers peel back the curtain of often misunderstood poker community, revealing the highs and lows of the game and the people who play it. From the intense pressure of high-stakes tournaments to the camaraderie and friendship that develops among players, the film captures the essence of what it means to be a part of the passionate poker community. The YouTube premiere will be April 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's a watch party with the ATF crew, so head over to youtube.com/@abovethefelt if you want to check that out. I think they're also running a contest. The link is in the description below if you guys want to enter for a chance to win whatever it is that this giveaway is doing.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. Yeah.
I'm excited
for it.
Great. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah.
I know some people in there.
But in the meantime, I want to give a shout out to my boy.
Oh, no.
My homie.
Oh, no.
Martin Zamani.
Oh.
Real high.
Zamani.
Shipping the 50K. Not only that, he won Ryan Reese's 1K bracket, had no idea about anything to do with college basketball. He was just like, fuck it, I'm in. He literally is like, how much can I win? 165? Sure, I'm in.
Sounds pretty much how he plays poker.
Listen, man gets it done.
Man gets it done.
Bro, he's double eagled up right now.
The man is cooking for real.
The interview, or not the interview, I guess, the sideline report was such a perfect meme. Like it looked like something out of a Key and Peele skit.
I talked to Martin Zamani during the break about the success that he's had at these high roller tournaments against polished opponents and maybe the different approach that he takes. His answer for me was very simple. 2 words. I'm high.
Natalie is so professional and polished. Like she sounds like she's right off of an ESPN broadcast. And she goes, his words for me, 2 words. I'm high.
I feel like she was excited to say that. She's like,
oh, couldn't wait.
Yeah, like this is such a like opportunity.
And man,
it's not often an interview from Poker Go goes poker Twitter viral.
Yeah,
he was not lying. Did you see his victory photo?
Did you see his face in any of them?
God, I mean, his hair is all over the place. His eyes are bloodshot. He's just, that man is high.
I don't know where he got time to get so high. He's been playing poker.
He's surrounded by eagles.
You only get a break every 2 hours. How are you so high, Martin? I don't understand.
That is peak performance right there.
Edibles, bro. It's called edibles.
I don't know
Word on the street was he tried to pay someone that worked for Poker Go 2K to smoke a joint at the table. The table all approved, of course. You know, he's not uncivilized. He tried.
Oh man,
that sounds about right.
Incredible. I'm tired of seeing Borg spam my DMs on Twitter and everything else, so I'm just going to give him the acknowledgement that he wants. Phil Hellmuth won a PGT event this series. He also got 4th in another, so 2 final tables for him.
He did.
Congratulations for Phil. You know, it's good to see you still able to feed the kids doing the thing that you love to do. Back to the action now.
Can I shout someone out?
Please.
I have a student of mine, Victor Paredes, just final tabled WPT Thunder Valley.
Oh, sick.
Oh, nice.
Fifth place for 97K. So congrats to Victor.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
Let's go, Victor.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
Putting
job,
meat and
Victor.
potatoes
Let's go.
on the fucking, putting it on the table for the kids, you know? We got to eat a little bit. Let's go. A little respect out there. We have to do the thing today that I enjoy doing the absolute least as a poker player, as a student of the game, and as an instructor myself.
And histories.
We're going to talk hands.
I thought you were going to say actually playing, because sometimes
No.
sometimes I feel like you don't really enjoy playing that much.
No, I love to play. I don't love to play heads up, but I love to play poker. I do not enjoy talking hand histories at all, but I understand their relevance, and I also understand that for the viewers looking in, they have no idea what the fuck is going on in this cage that we are thrown into.
No, that's my fault. I did a lot of shorthand hand histories for them, and then I had to realize that.
Well, now's your time to cook, bro. Here we
The
are.
fuck is SPR?
I mean,
No,
SRP.
SRP. I know what both are.
Store retail price.
Single raise pot.
Wait, you really didn't know?
You got to know what your SPR is and your SPR and your ASRP.
What's your SPR and an SRP?
There you go.
There you go. This is important. All right, so we have 10 key hands to pull from today that we're going to discuss. I guess I'll just run through the details of the hands and probably just like let you guys cook on any analysis you want to give. Let's not get too deep into the weeds. I don't want to give a free fucking lesson to Nick out there, but my thoughts are probably less relevant. I'll just add in context where I can. So the first hand we're taking a look at here is day 1 of the challenge. This was pretty early. I think we had about 100K starting stacks. And we are looking at what I believe to be a 4-bet pot. Yeah. So 4-bet pot. I have ace queen offsuit, no heart. We're going to see a flop of ace 4-3. We arrive at the flop with an SPR of about 3. So it looks like I had already doubled. Started this hand with about 200,000.
Like a 5-bet from the hand history.
Well,
looks like you made it 12 and he made it 30.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
go back.
yeah. Sorry. That's my fault.
12, 48, 12-5.
And then he 4-bet
And then
or
goes
5 bets.
30, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So 5-bet pot, my bad. So yeah, 5-bet pot. We have ace queen off. Flop is ace 4-3. I think he bets quarter, if I remember correctly.
20%.
Yeah, so 20%. Call, obviously. Turn is a 7 of spades. I don't remember if it was actually two-tone in real time. I wrote these hand histories really quickly, so it may have been like an offsuit 7 where there's only one flush draw. He checks to me. I believe I chose 2E. He calls, and on the river we land with about 66% pot behind. River's an offsuit 8. He checks, and I go, I guess, somewhat thin for value here and decide to rip. But I think as played, like, he's just not going to have very much ace-x in range, and when he does, it's going to be his weaker ace-x, like ace-5, ace. I mean, he could have ace-4, ace-3, I suppose, to have me beaten, but it's mostly just going to be like ace-5, ace-queen to chop, and some ace-jack, ace-10 suiteds. He tanked in this spot forever. Like, it was the first long tank of the match, and then he folded and took a break.
I feel like he has like kings when he tanks forever there, because he's like making peace with the fact that he has kings that he probably can't call, and now he has to fold.
I thought that as well, but he kept saying that it was a really interesting spot based off of his exact hand, and his exact hand being kings isn't that interesting, I don't think.
You don't have ace king off much calling 5-bet because you jam pre.
Good question. In theory, I do.
Right.
In theory, it mixes. In practice, I probably have all of it. I would probably just jam ace king suited.
Right. So queens become a better hand to call with than kings because queens for him blocks your ace queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like you want to start folding kings.
Yeah. So maybe he has queens, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think honestly, I think the way the board ran out, he probably had like ace-5. And thought that was relevant to 5-6, which I just don't really ever have. The final board was ace-4, 3, 7, 8.
Well, yeah, you don't really have 5-6, but the 5's a nice unblock to the bluffs that you could have.
Yeah.
It's like you want to have that versus some of the higher cards that you might just be bluffing with. So like he's just bluff catching and has a hand that beats your hand and then an unblocker type.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what the makeup of his 5-bet range is too, because like his 5-bet range is not going to be as mixed as what the solver is going to want to be in that spot, and so it really depends a lot on like the exact frequency that he actually does have ace-5 as a 5-bet to begin with, because he may not always 3-bet it, he may not always 5-bet it, and then there's other hands that like he probably like. The reason I say kings because kings is one of the hands that we can be the most confident that he 5-bets at like a high frequency.
Yeah, agreed.
And all the other ace-x, like ace-jack, ace-10, ace-5, like there's a whole bunch of ace-x stuff that could do something different at some point elsewhere in the hand. So I feel like kings and queens are like hands that he has a lot there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Queens is like a weird 5-bet for that size at that depth, I think. But it probably exists. Yeah, I truly didn't know what to make of the tank. Like, just the way this hand plays out in a 5-bet pot with ranges being so narrow, it's pretty straightforward. There aren't going to be like a lot of tough river decisions here, I don't think.
Yeah.
You're obviously sad when you have hands like kings or queens, but like, you know, it just is what it is. Like, you have a hand that probably mixes at some frequency. You figure out what you're going to utilize to use your mix, and then you move on. But he had like a very long funeral for this one, so I don't know. Maybe he folded an ace. Maybe there was like some like. It was his get out of line moment where he had like a low frequency ace-10 off or ace-jack off, something like that, and then just found a fold later in the hand. But
yeah,
it's also possible he just had something that was like he should never 5-bet in the first place.
Right.
He just like randomly 5-bet king 7 suited, and he just has like a 7x of hearts now on that river, and just like
how thin would you go in my spot as far as your ace-x value? Like, would you jam ace-10 suited here?
Feels tough to do that. Feels tough because I feel like ace queen checks turn a lot. I think when he has ace queen, I feel like he's at least a little bit afraid of you having ace king, and I think that means ace queen, ace jack checks turn enough that like now when we get to that river, it becomes so hard.
No. Ace queen's like 3 on flop. Ace queen's just straight top of range.
Theory wise, yeah, but I'm talking about Nick.
In practice?
I'm talking about Nick specifically.
Yeah, I'm
talking about
okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I don't think he's necessarily going to just like.
But like, either way, I agree with like ace jack. That's like the line of demarcation.
I think it's like it's really close. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it felt thin in real time, which is weird because I know it's just like a kind of layup jam. But that's obviously just me not really having a good understanding of what his range even looks like.
It's also just coming to grips with sometimes you're going to jam, get called, lose, and then be like,
Right.
why did I jam ace queen when I could have checked back?
Well, that seems to be the narrative of pretty much every river decision I've made in this entire fucking event. It's like when I'm right, I'm a genius, and when I'm wrong, I just second guess everything.
Well, yeah, that's because the pots are the biggest.
Yeah.
Like when you call with a king 9, it's like, oh, I'm a genius. So like, I had a good feeling about it. You call with a set of 6s, and you're the worst.
Yeah. So here we have a similar pot that's fewer bets pre. 240,000 effective. This is also day 1. We get ace queen again. This is going to be a 3-bet pot. So he opens to 12. I 3-bet the 6K. He calls. Flop ace of hearts, king of hearts, 6 of spades. I go for the overbet here on the flop, betting 150%. He calls. Turn 7 of spades, making the board 2-tone. From here, I basically go 2E, so I full pot. He calls again. River, we have, I think I missized a little bit, but we have just a little bit over full pot back. And river, I kind of like got a little lost. I know my hand is worth a jam, but I was struggling to find his bluff catchers, not in theory, but in practice. Like, I just felt like, you know, I'm going to put ace jack in hell when he has it. And I also wasn't positive that if I like chose some other action, he would always rip in ace 4. So I started to like get in this weird hedgy scenario where it's just like, oh, well, sometimes he has me beat, but I can lose less by taking some other action type of thing, which is just nonsense. But I was kind of surprised based off this exact run out, like my hand actually chooses a different size than all in, which was kind of surprising to me. Basically, like fits itself into a bit of a larger block size, which I kind of wish I would have chosen in real time, because then I can find his bluff catchers pretty easily, especially if he's like double floating with king queen type of hands. But ultimately, I check and he snap checked back. We scooped a nice one here. I think I misplayed the river pretty terribly. I don't think my hand ever really wants to check.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I think these spots are spots that people tend to both not go thin enough for value on river and also not bluff enough a lot of the time. Like, I think there's a decent chance that some of the stuff that's technically supposed to bluff there, like some of his like queen high hearts and things like that, that's supposed to bluff just because he doesn't really have very many other available bluffs. He might just be like, well, I have queen high, like I beat his bluffs, like I just check back queen high and, you know, not lose to an ace or something.
Right.
You know? So like if he doesn't bluff enough, then our incentive to check and try to bluff catch is greatly reduced.
Yeah, it's like near 0.
Yeah. And then there's also the possibility that like we have to consider, if we block, how often does he turn hands into a bluff and just jam? Because there are some spots, and this might be one of them, where against a check, he doesn't bluff that much, but against a block, like he might now decide to take like a random 7x of hearts and just be like, well, I don't want to just call.
Right, I never win.
But I'm going to shove.
Yeah. That's fair. And
you don't want to induce the bluff.
No, you do.
Oh,
you do. Ace queen's a pure.
Just call.
It's a snap
Tortoise
call.
doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, Tortoise is hanging in the back. He's like, I don't want him to like actually put money in the pot here.
Play some civilized poker. Check down. Heads up pot. Check down, baby.
Well, if you're going to fold, if you're going to call, then yes.
When was the last time you played a 5-bet pot, Tortoise?
Let's see.
So I had aces.
Yeah. Well, and
it was 4-bet to me.
Like 2012?
No, I usually my 5-bet pots are all in pre because I play 100.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't even think I've played a 5-bet pot in a long time.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the last one I played.
Yeah.
I jammed
ace 5 suited.
Ace 4.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
There was no way it was going to be anything other than a suited ace.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Never.
I was out of the 25K.
Yeah, they got me.
Scam.
Should have won that one too.
God damn it.
Can't believe he called.
I 5-bet jammed ace 5 suited the other day in Bobby's room.
How'd it go?
I got called by ace king.
You chopped?
I 3-quartered him.
I walk so you can run.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate all the work that you're putting in out there.
You're a true pioneer, Landon.
Yeah. And I'm not. That's the thing. I was talking about this when the fucking Elias jammed on Osmus with the ace 5, and then Patrick was like, "Yeah, I mean, you're not the first person to ever do the ace 5 stuff, but you're definitely like the new age representation of what the ace 5 looks like,
right?
When it comes to being the person that's very openly spoken about it." And I was like, I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone had to be the martyr.
Yeah, that's
we're happy
me.
for it to be you.
Yeah, I died for your jams.
All right. Here is this next hand we're going to talk about. Doug covered it. He got the details pretty close to. Nah, they were off. Anyway, I'll fill you guys in on what actually happened since obviously Airball didn't see my hand, so I can expose now what I had.
What really happened was.
So this is the hand where Airball had 7-5 of spades. For whatever reason, this replayer won't show his hand. I couldn't figure out how to make it work, but just know that he has 7-5 of spades here. This is a 3-bet pot pre. I was dabbling with a 5x open when we got super deep. As you can see, I had like 550k here and covered. Airball had like 350. So at this point, we're playing like 1,000 plus big blinds, or just shy 900 big blinds, I guess, effective. So I open 5x with 10-9 off, 10 of spades. He chooses to 3-bet to 8k.
6k.
Oh, sorry, 6k. My apologies. And I call. We see a flop of queen of spades, 10 of hearts, 9 of spades. Pretty good for us. We flop bottom 2 with the backdoor flush draw. He leads for, I think, a
42.
little over third. Yeah, so just slightly over third pot. And to be fair, there's 12-4 in the pot, not 12k. I couldn't get the ante to work either. We call here. Turn is an offsuit deuce of diamonds, and he chooses about 75% pot, betting 15,000 into like 21-ish. I think what was going on in my head here, I know Doug said that he thinks it's fancy play syndrome to play any raises here. I strongly disagree, especially like when sizings aren't necessarily theoretically correct. We're going to be able to find a lot of imbalances here, but also like you're just not pure raising king jack on flop or sets. And when you delay those hands, you can't just like double delay them to do what on the river. Like you're going to land on river with like 4 SPR. It's going to be hard to get the money in. So you're just going to have a subset of hands that want to get the money in. And then you're also going to have a subset of hands that like want some level of protection. So like when Nick has kings here, I want to be able to both get some level of protection with my hand as well as get the extra value that I may not be able to accrue on the river should he suddenly start to check, or you know the river comes in ace, now potentially as a check fold. I just think there's like a lot of reasons to implement a raising range on the turn with both bluffs and value, obviously.
Yeah, I agree, because the whole spot kind of goes out the window when he chooses bet 75% on the turn.
Right.
Because it's such a bricky turn, he's supposed to probably like 2x pot it. And
like, yeah, it's with like, you know, not a high frequency bet to begin with.
Right, yeah. But bottom line is like his value is strong enough on that complete brick that he should go bigger than that size.
Right.
And then because he goes bigger, now you don't really need to have any raises because your value can still get stacks in on river without needing to raise.
Yeah.
But now when he goes 75, in order for you to get any value on river with king jack and with your other value, like you kind of have to have some raises here, because how else are you going to play for stacks? Like what are you going to do? Like you call and then the river's like a 7 SPR and he bets pot and you jam for 7x pot. Like that's going to be
I mean,
insane,
like we're
you know?
to be clear, we're at the turn with a 16 SPR.
Yeah.
So it's like it's easy to call something fancy play syndrome when you're used to playing turns that have an SPR of sub 3. But like, you know, at a turn SPR of 16, there are just some hands that are pretty strong that, you know, want to put money in the pot fast.
And the biggest driver of your EV in any spot is going to be what your value hands do and how you get value from top of range. So
right,
like,
yeah.
It just unless you're just like pure raising king jack on flop or jack 8, which is like it doesn't seem like you need to do that.
Right.
It makes sense to have raises here because you still have king jack and jack 8 in range.
Yeah, I think it would be a pretty big mistake actually to just like pure raise those on flop, because he's just going to have so many equity dense hands, like, you know, hands like ace king with a spade and stuff like that, where suddenly now you're at a low SPR on turns and you could just be dead a lot.
Right. And you're barely even like protecting anything by raising flop, because a lot of the stuff that actually has equity on that board, like flush draws, gut shots, etc., almost none of it actually folds.
Right.
So like you don't even have to have
you're front loading a lot of aggression and building a very large pot that you're only going to win like maybe half the time down the line.
But by contrast, on the turn, like now you actually can fold out some gutters and stuff that have equity against your top of range or against like your 2 pairs and things like that.
Well, you would think, Matt.
Oh yeah,
you would think so. However,
you would think
I hit him with the raise here to 50k after he bets 15, and he chooses to call. The river then is the 6 of spades. There's 120,000 in the pot, and we are about 290 effective. And he go aheads and leads for 150,000. Now, I got to tell you, this is annoying.
Yeah. I was just about to say, this is like the dumbest, most annoying spot of all time.
Yeah, because there's so many contradicting thoughts going through your head where it's just like, okay, well, naked flush draws were supposed to fold the turn, and he has a lot of like a lot of hands that possess the single ace of spades, right? So it's just like this is an easy spot to overbluff. Like, oh, a scare card after he raised the turn and probably doesn't have a lot of flushes in his raising range. Fuck him, bomb. You know what I mean? So that's the first thought that goes through your head. But then the second thought is like, but it's 150,000 and like he just randomly is clicking that on a, otherwise brick. Like the 6 is a brick outside of it being a spade. So it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? This is a lot of big blinds. We're talking about 300 big blinds getting bet on the river. How do I make a decision here? And, at the end, I was just like, well, theoretically, this is a call. So I have to defer to something because I just don't know what the hell's going on. Like maybe he never has bluffs here. Maybe he's over bluffing here. I don't know. But at some point I'm going to have a hand to pay to find out.
Yeah. Had one.
So I paid. Yeah. I got shown the bad news. Pretty unfortunate spot for me. And it's kind of annoying too because, it allows, it kind of like punishes me in the early stages of the heads up match when hands like this happen because it's going to swing things very heavily back into his favor. Like it's basically corrective variance, where if this roll is reversed and we played the exact same line, there's just a good chance that Nick would just overfold versus this play, or just not raise 10-9 on the turn, whatever. And no matter what, basically it's not going to be an even exchange. But, there are a lot of other areas where you're just accumulating chips over and over and over and over based off of those same exact tendencies. So you just kind of live with it. It looks bad on paper because the 3 largest pots that we've played are going his way. And they're all based off of these weird fucking erratic river decisions. But that's kind of the nature of the match, right? There will just be spots where I have nuts in that same scenario.
One of the two of you are going to win the big pots.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He bet 150,000 of his 280, right? Or his 290 with a 7 high flush, where I literally could have just been raising turn with Jack 8 of spades.
Yeah.
Flop straight with the Jack high flush and just, snap him off on the river. Or I could have King Jack of spades, or I could have whatever. There are a lot of combo draws.
Ace deuce of spades.
Yeah, ace deuce of spades is a great one. Turn bottom pair and you start to turn it into a bluff. There's a lot of overflush scenarios here where he loses max as opposed to playing the river normally, facing a large bet and then just calling.
Well, that's why you don't call the turn with 7 high.
Right. I was just gonna say there's a lot of other good scenarios where he calls the turn, the river's a brick, and you give up on a bluff and win.
Right.
you give up on
the river's a jack and he spaz bluffs and I just still have 10-9 and go,
okay, yeah,
I call.
But there's definitely going to be spots there where he forces himself into a give up because the river is another complete brick, a 4.
Yeah.
And what is he going to do? Donk donk jam a 4 and just get snapped by all your value. There's nothing he can do. And he checks, he loses to your bluffs, and it's it's
just kind of torching
an
the
annoying river card because his turn mistake was so big.
And the logic of call it peeling to try to spike and then quote unquote giving up if you miss is just putting in way too much money in on the turn that you just let it go now.
Right.
Yeah. Well, one for the good guys, Well, what are you gonna do?
It's the bad guy.
No, he's the good guy.
Oh. Is it break time yet?
Yeah. So now it's break time.
Right. I had to go pee.
That was the end of session 1. We spent the next 30 hours in the bathroom. So moving into session 2, why is this not loading?
By the way, yesterday's podcast, the suggestion of just playing in the bathroom cracked me up. That I laughed so hard. When
Imagine if he's just on a whirly chair and he turns around, whips his dick out, and just pisses in the urinal on the turn, facing an overbet.
Oh my god!
Hold on, let me cook.
Let me pee.
I gotta tinkle, bro.
Let him pee.
I gotta tinkle. Okay, so now we're moving into session 2. You're gonna notice a theme. all these sessions start off with me just absolutely going
Winning?
hard and winning a bunch, and then ending with me getting wrecked in some big hand.
Halfway through every session, we're all like in the group chat going like, "Oh, he's gonna win 600K today." Like,
Right, yeah.
Or we're gonna break even.
I think Nick has been like in the black, like positive, about 10% or 10 minutes of the 20 hours that you played.
Yeah, the last 10 minutes of session 3.
Right. Yeah,
that
it's
was
the
it.
only time he's been winning.
That's
since
true.
He's been playing.
No, that part's true. So yeah, session 1 ended at my peak. I was up 450. We ended up winning 133.5. Moving into session 2 now, we start this hand about $250,000 effective. I have Jack 9 of diamonds on the button, single raise pot. So I opened to 1,500 at this point. He calls, comes King 7-6, 2 diamonds. So we flop the Jack high flush draw. He checks. We stab, he calls, turn, offsuit 10, giving us now a really strong hidden double gutter.
Big hand.
Big hand. So double gutted flush draw. He checks. I go for the big bet here of pot-ish. Actually, it's exactly pot with the ante in there. He continues again. And on the river, we find the old 5 of diamonds. He checks it over to us. We're going to go for the big bet again, betting, I think, 22.5, so 1.5x pot. And he very quickly called me in that one and, again, had to relieve himself afterwards. Not sure what his hand is here. I assume just like a king, maybe an improved king by the end. So a king
like
5, king 6 type of hand. Maybe a 6-5 type of hand would make a lot of sense.
he can also have stuff like 10-8 with the 8 of diamonds, like that might consider bluff catching.
Well, that's yeah. Single raise pot. You're right.
Just depends on the speed. If you called fast, you probably didn't have something along those lines. More like the
Yeah, you called pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I would imagine. It's tough to know whenever we don't see his hand. But I imagine, like, here's the thing: like, these hands just happen, right? Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like you just bluff catch, you get shown better.
Yeah, it's
you
heads
move
up
on.
and limit.
Yeah. But a nice 60K pot nonetheless moved in our favor.
Kind of a crazy spot to it's just like a standard line, small bet flop, pot turn. And you get to the river and there's like a 17 SPR still. Like, did you consider betting like 5x pot or something crazy? Like,
No.
Nick did that later.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, he did that later. I mean, I guess the thing is I don't want to go too far into foreign territory whenever it comes to like these SRPs. Sorry, these single raise pots. Just based off of the fact that like it's another thing for me to over consider then, right? Because we all know what the natural response is, and this isn't even like a shot at Nick or anything like that. This is just going to be true across the board. If you start 500%ing pot or start betting 5x pot on river, you're just going to get a lot of folds, right?
Yeah.
So the purpose behind that strategically is because you are really good at curating a bluffing strategy here that prints, right? And it's not that I'm not capable of that. It's just that like to have that additional tool in my tool belt that I have to constantly consider as I'm building the pot on flop and turn becomes a little excessive.
Yeah, and the more the deeper the SPR is on the river, like you say, the bigger the bets you're making, the more you have to consider very, very specifically what your bluffs are, what your value bets are, and you start to get to the point where, like, if you were to bet like 4x pot or 6x pot or something like that, you reach the level where like certain specific combinations of flushes now become like less valuable because you're blocking the stuff that you're blocking the very tiny portion of bluff catchers they might have, which can actually call that bet size.
Yeah.
So like if you size up so massively, individual cards in your hand start to matter so much that it becomes incredibly difficult to actually construct a strategy.
Yeah.
And the solver, if you run that spot through the solver, it's gonna want to do like some insane amount of mixing, and it's gonna have to be very, very particular about exactly what bluff combos it uses. And it's just impossible for a human to actually do that.
Yeah, I've done a fair amount of like 2.5x and 3x potting on river, with relatively deep SPRs, like 10 plus SPRs, and across the board they just almost uniformly generate folds. So it's like it's definitely a part of the strategy, and it's something that I'll continue to execute. But I also just kind of know that it's not going to yield a huge return unless I'm massively over bluffing it, which I'd like to attempt to not be doing, but we'll see.
The nature of splitting sizes in general allows you to then bucket and have good hands in 2 different nodes.
Right.
Where now if you start adding an extra node of betting more, a lot of your good hands go into that node and aren't present in other ones.
Yeah.
So if you have 4 different sizes and you're trying to balance all of them, and then you end up with, call it like 2 pair, and then choose the wrong size and then get raised, or have the wrong hand size in the wrong bucket, and then break down the overall strategy of your own when you get faced back with aggression, you're now in these weird territorial spots where you have too many things going on at once, where you don't have enough good hands in a certain line because you're busy splitting them across 4 different sizes.
It's like already enough branches. You don't need to add more branches.
So if you have...
I mean, to be fair, though, the larger you get, the less good hands you actually need to include.
That's true.
Because people are so risk averse and don't call often enough. There's just like, if you just went like pot and a half with your value and like 5x pot with your bluffs, you'd be doing just fine, man. You'd be doing just fine.
Yeah, until they call.
Yeah, when they call, they call. You know, whatever.
Someone called.
Fucking YOLO. Let's go. All right, this hand's like pretty standard, but I felt like it was pretty indicative of like the overall pace of the match, I would say. So his standard c-bet size is 1K into 28, which, you know, is what it is. It's the only size that he really uses. So this is a single raise pot. We defend ace jack off. Comes queen jack 4, 2 diamonds, 1 heart. Check, 1K into 28. We call. Turn is the 4 of spades. Really good card for him. I would expect to see a lot of barreling here. Check. He checks back. River, 5 of clubs. So now obviously like he's pretty capped here. And he's never going to have better than ace jack, I don't think. Or actually, I shouldn't say that. He's never going to have a better middle of range, right? Because like we're just at the top with the ace kicker. He'll certainly have some like protected queen X that he checks back, but like we're just okay with that, I think, when we get value cut here. I went for full pot, and he very quickly called me and then looked at me like I had 4 heads when I turned over the old ace jack.
Couldn't believe it, huh?
I think he was surprised I didn't 3-bet it, to be honest. I think that was what had him a little miffed.
Yeah. If you're not value owning yourself in heads up no limit poker, you're not value betting enough as is.
Sure. Yeah.
So and like that's true in just almost any format. Like if you're unwilling to put yourself in a spot where you value bet river and you get called by better, you're mostly probably not value betting.
Yeah, what I really noticed about heads up is just the massive differences between sizes or in sizings. Everything is scaled upwards, right? So like pot just becomes like a really standard size, where when you're playing ring, that starts to get into the echelon of like your highest equity hands start to fit into pot more often. And, you know, like 1.5x pot is like really polar sizing. But heads up, it's just like, you know, you kind of like start at 3/4 pot,
it's like
and then
normal,
you just like work your way up to like 5 to 10x pot.
We can not pretend that blocks don't exist.
No, yeah, of course they do, but blocks are never really allocated for the sense of this is what's going to earn the most chips.
You're not targeting pairs with blocks,
right?
You're targeting the weaker parts.
Yeah,
but sometimes you just have such dust in your range that you don't want to invest like a pot size bet, but you go B25 and you hope that jack high starts folding. And now you're kind of printing in that regard.
Yeah, and then you have like some other hands that induce type of. It's kind of like the exact opposite of like polarization, right? It's more so like framing something in the middle where it's like, well, this hand, or I have a bunch of hands that are only worth a little bit, and then I have a few hands in here that are on the sneak that I'm going to dare you to raise me with.
Right.
And you know, we're going to move on from there.
Yeah. It's just a matter of trying to target the ace highs too, because like once you start potting, opponents allowed to start folding king highs, folding ace highs in some spots where you beat 25. Now they have this indifference point where if you start folding king high too much, you're just getting murdered in these small pots where you just have to kind of look them up and see what they have.
Yeah, that's such a crazy thing about heads up is like just how often you're investing money with like ace and king high versus bets.
Yeah. Like it's definitely very easy to inherently bluff too much when you're playing heads up, because especially if you're a full ring type player where you have 10 high, jack high, queen high, and you think, oh man, I have to bluff this high queen high. But in reality, you're only playing against one other person.
Yeah.
And in your case, it's in an anti-game.
Yeah.
Where someone's playing the whole deck. Queen high's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a little bit like blind against blind in tournaments, like in situations like that where it goes like limp check. you're now in a spot where it's like if you just like fold queen high on the flop, like you're folding a lot of equity.
Yeah.
Like queen high is strong.
Like ranges are infinite at that point.
Yeah, they're very, very wide for sure.
Okay. Next hand.
Did you
Good.
would you have had any donk bets on that turn?
On the 4?
Yeah.
I think less so on the 4. I mean, I guess you could, but I would be leading middle pair more, like the jack.
It feels like I almost feel like in heads up though, the 4 becomes a better donk than the jack, because heads up, like a lot of his jack X bets flop where it wouldn't necessarily in a ring. And then his 4X becomes the stuff that is more likely to check back flop heads up, to where now when the 4 pairs the turn, you have all your 4X and he has like very little now. So it feels like a turn where maybe you can have some donks.
Yeah, probably true.
Oh yeah, these middle and bottom card pairs are pretty good for out of position. It's like you're check calling with some of these hands most of the time and not raising them, but you don't have to do it by any means.
All right, hand number 3 from session 2. We pick up the queen 9 of diamonds. This hand is just a little bit gangster. We took it to the streets here. So we pick up queen 9 of diamonds on the button, open, single raise pot. So 1,500 each, 3,400 in the middle. Jack 10, 9, 2 clubs, and a spade. We flop a pair and an open ender, but obviously like not really a great board that we want to be super aggressive on. Check, check. Happy to protect range with a hand like this. Turn 3 of diamonds. He is going to check again. We're going to double delay here. I think that like building a pot with a hand this week is probably just an issue. River is the deuce of clubs completing the flush. I think it completed the flush. Honestly, I just wrote all black whenever I sent the hand history to you guys. So it could have been 2 spades and a club on the flop.
It probably did complete the flush, because I remember you saying, I remember you mentioning the ace of clubs.
I did, but he also had a 3, so he turned a pair into a bluff.
Oh, I thought he had like ace 6 or something.
Oh, maybe he did. Actually,
I thought that's what you said.
Hold on, I have notes, so you might be right. Okay, yeah, you're right. It was ace of clubs, 6 of whatever, 6 of spades. So yeah, it probably was the flush completing card.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So he checked the 3rd time. This might be too thin.
It is.
It's probably too thin. What do you think our worst value bet is here in theory?
Probably like
a good 10.
Yeah, 10 with a club.
Yeah.
You have to have a club because you don't want him to raise you.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least theoretically.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I was even targeting, honestly, whenever I value bet the river. I don't know. I had a sense that I was getting called too lightly and that I had a good hand on the end.
You did that, Creed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're targeting a 3, you're targeting a worst 9, right? Like he can definitely still have some like 9-5, like that stuff that's not going to be able to fold to 1 bet.
Yeah, I guess inherently what it was is that when he checked 3 times, I just felt like he had showdown value. And I just felt like my showdown value was better.
I agree.
So I kind of went for it. And I got punished as he went for a big 150% pot raise. But it kind of just stunk, man. It's just like, you're telling me that you checked the nut flush draw 3 times here and then went for the check. It's possible. You could.
It is possible.
Definitely possible, but it seems a lot more likely that you just had ace high, thought you had showdown value. And
right. And even any flush there, like people are so inclined to not anticipate a high frequency of bets when they check the river for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
That people just don't, for the most part at least, they don't want to check their value because they're too afraid of it going check check. Like that, the feeling of having like the nuts and having it just be a check down to the river, that really sucks. And most people are like, if they check twice and they still don't face a bet, they're like, okay, now I have to bet because I really don't want to check a 3rd time. And then he just checks back and I'm like, how did I win nothing with the nuts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like people just, I think he bets a lot of his flushes, probably doesn't have the like patience to check with the intent to check raise, and all we win.
Yeah, this would have been a spot where I get fucking wrecked if he has like a 2-pair type of hand and just like got super greedy.
Yeah.
Because that's a reasonable river check.
Therein lies the issue with thin value bets when you play people that raise.
Yeah, that's true.
If you play someone that doesn't raise, you can thin value bet because when you get raised, you have nuts. And if they raise you too much, now you have these indifferent spots where you get punished for being at the bottom of your range too much. Because that's what thin value is, right? You're value betting with the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever. In this instance,
Whatever, we got him.
Yeah, we got him. I'm probably
ball.
making errors. Look, I'm gonna make a bunch of errors, so I don't mind putting them out on display here from time to time. But
not a heads up player.
Yeah,
I know.
I only play one on TV.
I love Landon's reactions every time you play a hand like this because it's always like there was one where he was like, "Get absolutely fucked." It's
like it was actually that hand.
I actually can't wait till we could have Pigtails do a reading of the chat.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
it's gonna be absolutely great.
Yeah.
Highlights of the group chat.
Well, because that's one of those spots where it's way too thin of a value bet, but you're operating under the instance that a nut blocker is getting used too much.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're just gonna be like, okay, we're just gonna play some poker and I hope I'm right.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to take it to the streets,
right.
man.
And when you're right, they get absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
So when he would bluff and you would call, did he rolled his hand over a lot or
I mean, I hold my hand.
I know. Yeah, I guess so. To see your hand, he has to.
Yeah. I mean, he can muck.
He can muck. Yeah.
I'm happy to muck too.
Yeah, like Nick's not gonna tell Matt you're good, and Matt's gonna flip over his hand. Like, show me your fucking cards.
Not today.
I understand that, but I'm saying does he ever just muck?
No.
Because he also wants to see what Matt has.
Yeah, he probably wants to see my hand too. It's worth a lot.
Yeah, because if he calls and has ace-6 and doesn't know that Matt has queen-9 and then just mucks, right? It's just like, oh shit, okay, he could have just had a very reasonable hand to bet call,
right,
like a jack with the club.
He should feel both better and worse about his bluff when he sees my hand.
Fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
It's just like, oh, what a good bluff. That hand should have not been indifferent, but a pure fold.
Well, it is.
And then he called me.
He didn't fold, therefore I got wrecked.
Right.
Therefore I feel bad.
Right, yeah. So
Which means you suck because you call it the hand that shouldn't.
So we've gone full circle here to this was my fault.
Yep.
I accept full blame.
You correctly called with a hand that was wrong.
Right.
So, make of that what
I
you
award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Perfect. So speaking of getting fucked, we end the session now on a bang.
A break.
So we play a 4-bet pot where I open ace king to 1500. He 3-bets to I think he went larger this time because we were super deep. No, he picked the standard 4800. I make it 20k with ace king off. Flop comes 985 rainbow. We see check. I think our hand probably plays a bit of a mix on this type of texture. Turn offsuit 5. We block the ace 5 suited, which is nice. He checks. I think I could probably stab here. I can't really explain it. Just the way the game was flowing and everything else. I just thought that it was a little bit too thin, and I would only be getting worse to fold, which isn't really the desire here. So I chose to check back again. River ace of diamonds, and he checks a third time, and here's where I really screw the pooch. I get super greedy. So I think in theory I'm probably supposed to bet somewhere between half and full pot maybe. So yeah, 3/4 pot's probably ideal. I just went for pot and a half because magic ace gonna have too many bluffs, have the nut ace here, yada yada yada. But thinking about it more, I think it's very reasonable for him to check ace 8 and ace 9 3 times. I think it's pretty reasonable for him to check full houses 3 times. And outside of me just having an ace king versus ace queen type scenario, I'm not sure that he's super pumped to pay with all of his suited aces that have gotten here this way, nor does he always forget to bluff when he has ace 6, ace 7, ace 10, those types of hands that have some board coverage. So I think I got a little bit too greedy, and that would have been okay if I had just folded. But I went pot and a half, 60k into 40, and he clicks it on me with only a pot size shove behind to begin with. So I make it 60, and we're 250, or sorry, we're 200 back. So it's literally just a pot size shove. I thought I would only face call or jam or fold rather.
Yeah, him not jamming is dust.
Yeah. So then I get clicked on, and I'm just what the fuck is this? The board, there's no ace 5 suited left. The board in my hand have reduced it to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if we played a pot on session 3 that if I had played it on session 2, I would have just for sure folded here because he showed up with 6-5 suited in a 4-bet pot. Where it's okay, well, if I knew that, then he certainly has more 5x here than I gave him credit for.
They probably barrel the turn.
Yeah, maybe. But like, you know, I could see double checking that hand. Gut shot, bottom trips. You know, you're doing
Like
pretty...
top of range though, where it's like you need money now. You're still gonna have some high cards that call.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't
Like
have
you
folded.
probably want to sneak with like 9s and 8s more so than a 5.
Yeah.
But
well, I think 6-5 is particularly magical, I guess, because you know you just let Jack 10 draw. Oh, I guess that's not a good thing. Never mind. Yeah, never mind. I was thinking
it's
that
kind of funny because if Ace King is your weakest value bet for 150 and you get clicked on, your range probably turns into like Ace King and Aces on river for a jam.
Yeah.
But now you're trying to get someone to fold, like not 8s because 8s just kind of have to run it.
Yeah.
But you're trying to get them to fold like 5x
or like Ace 9,
twice, or like an Ace 9 type of hand, which you're asking for a lot.
Yeah, I think I just should fold here. I probably would have. I thought about it. I think I do have aces in this line. I think I have Ace 9 and Ace 8 for sure in this line. Although I don't know how much I 4-bet Ace 8 pre. Maybe never. Ace 9 suited, maybe sometimes. So I have some combos of value here, maybe like 2 or 3. But my range is like so dense to Ace King, Ace Queen that this raise is just stinky, and I should just not bite. Save the 65K. I bit. He had 9s or 8s. Sorry, he had pocket 8s.
Yeah.
I got what I deserved.
It's a tough game when it comes to having to try to think about bets and checks on flop where you're only playing so many 4-bet pots, 5-bet pots in a session, where these hands are going to dictate the session in itself, let alone the match. Where now you kind of have to think, do I actually check this hand here sometimes, or do I just bet it because I'm stuck? Or do I bet this hand because I'm winning? It's not even
like, does he bluff here because he's stuck?
Right.
Like,
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
That's playing poker,
it's always
baby.
at the end of the session. It's always at the end of the session. He's always fucking buried to the gills, and I'm trying to make decisions based off of what I think his emotions are.
Yeah.
You're like, am I going to bluff catch because he's mad and then win and then make him really mad and take another break?
I said that at the end of the last session when I got cooled off where you rivered the straight. I go, well, here's the issue. If I call and I'm wrong, you're basically even, and that's bad for me. But if I call and you're right, or if I call and I'm right, well, then you're out of chips. And that's good for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good for me, though.
No.
It wasn't that good
line,
for you.
I think, is always going to lead you to a call.
I mean, I had a pure call.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to that hand later.
Yeah.
But in theory, like, you just are never folding sets. Like,
pretty tough.
To give you guys... I ran it like to give you some perspective. Like Ace 10 suited is a pure call.
Wow, really?
So it's just like, I mean, you only have Ace 10 of clubs basically.
Right.
But anyway, we start off session 3 after breaking even in session 2. We come back and we start off with a bang. This is one of the early hands where 100K effective. We flop a flush with the 10-5 suited. Very nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
We appreciate it.
Flushes are nice.
9-7-4 all hearts. Flop goes check 1K into check flop. Check flop, and then I check again on the turn where I think he chooses big side. Oh no, I chose big sides.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. My fault. So the turn is at 10. I go big. I go pot and a half. It's gonna look a little weird on here because there's no ante, but there's 2,800 in the pot. So I bet 42 into 28. Which felt a little bit awkward because I have a pair and a flush draw now, which generally you're going to size down a bit, but it was a straightening-ish card. I thought like it could open up a lot of equity for him if he has like queen jack with a heart, something along those lines. And he's probably just not folding to big bets here. So we went for it. River gives me 2 pair, which may in and of itself been good.
Probably.
But now we have a flush. And now I really block the board pretty heavily. So like outside of him having a hand like 6-8 or jack 8, it's going to be pretty tough for him to call massive bombs here. So I sized down. This might be wrong. And I probably should have still chosen at least like pot, I guess. But I went B50, I think.
Around that.
I mean, that's what I wrote in this hand history, but I thought I chose 75% in real time, but maybe not. It doesn't really matter.
Do you think that you have, when you block the board, you think you have more incentive to actually check raise? To let him bluff like his queen jacks and king jacks and stuff, or
yeah,
checks those back maybe.
I think that's a reasonable observation. I'm truly not sure. It's definitely something to look at.
Might be a good spot for a block.
Well, I mean, I guess I kind of did. I bet 50.
Sure.
That's
half pot's your block size.
Blockish.
Yeah. Block adjacent.
Yeah, block adjacent. Yeah, I mean, I could bet 25, especially if he has like.
Because you want to target like a 9. You want to target like the flop pairs that aren't going to always bet, but they're not going to call big bets either. I mean, at least theoretically. But if he's calling too many big bets for too big of sizes, then you can do whatever you want.
I think the issue that I have with blocks there is I feel like he probably doesn't bluff enough against the block in that spot.
My issue is that I don't think he raises straights, and that's why I have a hard time like just strictly targeting a 9.
Yeah, if you don't think he raises straights, that changes that spot quite a bit because he's definitely supposed to raise straights on
right, like or at least if he does raise straights, I think he would be very sensitive to having a heart with it. So being like Jack 8 with the Jack of Hearts, 8-6 with the 8 of Hearts, something like that. Where I think against block, pretty much all straights would raise here. You might even raise like some sets.
Yeah, I get it.
Set might be thin, but
yeah, set's probably thin.
He just doesn't have many sets anyway.
Right. Well, yeah, not when we have our hand.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like,
either way, like he's not checking sets on flop very much.
Yeah, that's true. He wouldn't check a flop set, and he probably doesn't have 10s. So yeah, it would just be like exactly 5s, which would never even get there. So yeah, no sets even in range.
No set, no bet.
So yeah, I mean, I was basically just I hedged. It's not a good size.
Maybe it is though.
Yeah, maybe it is, but it's probably not. Honestly, making the 2 pair shook me a little bit. I was ready to go full pot, and then I made 2 pair, and I'm just like, well, what the fuck, man? Like, I have the board on lockdown.
Yeah, I'm less inclined to to want to bet when I have so many cards, especially like overcards to the board.
Yeah, I had a 7-card hand.
Yeah, you had a big hand, so like you're blocking the hands that you want him to call with, and most of his range can be like some potentially protected 9x checkbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So targeting those would be nice, and then. Versus block, he is definitely supposed to find some raises with the Queen Jack, Queen of Hearts type stuff, which
are very
definitely findable,
Yeah.
right? Especially if he thinks that your range is too weak for the block size because you front load all of your value for bigger ones.
Yeah.
But poker's hard.
He ended up calling with
we don't know. Could have potentially been like an overpair with a heart.
Yeah.
Maybe a turn 10.
Yeah, a lot of credit to check back and overpair with the heart.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very reasonable check back.
Yeah.
Just message him real quick, ask him what he had in that hand.
That's how you suck a dick again.
He could have also just had like black deuces or something stupid.
Right.
Like, just decided, fuck you, you have the ace of hearts or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why heads up is actually really fun.
Yeah. It kind of is.
How much fun have you had playing the match itself?
0. 0 fun, sir.
Let's rephrase. How much fun would you have had if it didn't mean you had to spend time with Nick Airball? Like if you're playing heads up against someone else.
I don't know. Spending time with him is not an issue. We literally don't say a fucking word to each other. Guapo was you can tell your story.
Confirmed. I was playing a little 1-3 and one of the dealers comes by because everybody kept asking, hey, what's going on? And she said, they're not talking to each other and it seems like they're not getting along. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's so innocent. It seems like they're not getting along. It's like, no, they don't get along.
That's a very watered down way of
It was an astute observation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
good
very
read
true
from the dealer.
But yeah, like we don't say a word. So the only annoyance is that we take a break every 20 minutes.
Fair enough.
If I could play 60 hands in a row, I would enjoy myself a little bit more. But no, I mean, I enjoy thinking on the fly. I really enjoy like the freestyle aspect that heads up allows you to have. Like obviously the most technical players in the world are the best because they're super technical, but they have to be because they're playing against someone else who's super technical. Here I'm trying to figure out like what this monkey is fucking 150% potting river with after check calling or bet calling turn and the flush card falls. It's just like this guy's throwing shit against the wall and I'm the one sitting here cleaning it up off my face.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting breaking down hands in the group chat because there are like we're talking about it from a theoretical perspective, but there's also this practical element of like there are a bunch of spots where he could be doing stuff that's so way far away from theory on the earlier streets that it completely fucks up the turn and river.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun because like, it's live too. So if I'm good at anything, I think it's like kind of sussing out my environment and having an idea of like where the tendencies are coming from, even over a sample of a couple hundred hands, or maybe nearing 1,000 at this point, depending on how long these breaks are taking. But yeah, maybe when it's all said and done, I'll look back and I will have enjoyed it more. But I think in the moment, in the mix of all of this, I'm annoyed at how it came to be. I'm annoyed at like having to defend my character and shit like that. And I just am super focused on like wanting to absolutely bash and, you know, just maximize the amount of pain that can be felt here sitting across one another over 100 hours.
Yeah, believe me, we're all rooting for pain too.
We're already 20% of the way through.
I would like to stop being the one in pain. I mean, for having a lead here, I come home very sad most days. It's not really fun.
What might have been.
Yeah, I think the hopium and the optimism is really the killer. All right, so let's get into session 3. This was an early hand. I doubled early. I can't recall what the first big pot was. It may have been the
King 9.
It might have been the King 9 bluff. I'm not going to cover that one again. Doug got the details all correct on that, so I don't think there's any reason to rehash it. But we arrive at this spot. We're about $250,000 deep again. Single raise pot. He opens. I defend 10-5 of diamonds. It comes 10 of spades, 6 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds. So we flop top pair and a flush draw.
Flop.
Really nice flop. Backdoor straight draw too. Check 1K into 28. Call. Turn 4. I did consider a lead in this particular spot, but think my hand doesn't really need to or
Did you
want to.
consider check raising flop?
Yeah, of course. But I think that on these textures in particular, he follows through a lot with big bets.
Okay.
And I can't think of many better hands than what I have. I think I would just prefer to check raise if I'm going to go like the pair flush draw route. Maybe something that doesn't have as many backdoor properties. Something like King 10 of diamonds, perhaps. Yeah. Where I could also just like outkick him with my top pair.
Yeah, your hand retains equity well through a call line.
Right. And I don't want to get like worse to fold and then just get called by better 10s and get wrecked when I don't improve. So turn, I do face the overbet. He bet 7,600 into 4,800. We obviously are not going anywhere with top pair and a flush draw. Easy call. River is the 5, giving me now the winning 10 if I'm up against a 10. But of course, I lose to any 4, any full house,
overpair,
any 7-8, and any overpair. 7-8 being a pretty reasonable hand to double barrel and take this line with, I think.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you unblock diamonds. So we check a third time, and he hits us with the first massive overbet. We've seen a lot of like 150% pot, maybe even a little bit of 200%. He goes 250, so 50K into 20. This was a tough spot. I don't think by any stretch I have like a layup call here. But with his sizing, I don't know how much overpairs are getting fit into this size. It seems tough, right?
Yeah, probably not much.
Yeah, it seems tough because like a 10 becomes...
The 10 for this size is too thin.
Well, I'm saying a 10 is definitely indifferent at this size.
Oh, sure.
For my calling range.
Sure. I'm talking about in position.
Yeah, of course he never has a 10. So like me having the 2 pair now only matters in the sense that I block houses.
Yeah.
So I block 5-4 and I block 5s, which is pretty important, I would think. Maybe even more important than having the 10 itself.
But you also block 10-4 and 10's full, which is both of those are good.
Yeah. I don't know if he's opening 10-4 off on the button, but yeah probably is.
He might.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, like having the blocker to the board is nice. It really comes down to, is he doing this with like aces, kings, queens, and jacks? And it's like all I could really arrive at is like, if so, it's probably a small frequency, because if I just start folding a lot of 10s, then the next grouping that I'm calling with is like trips.
Yeah, my inclination here, when a hand feels rather uncomfortable to make a decision when it comes to a continue, not a decent hand to jam.
Oh, I was never playing jam.
You know, because like you just block boats. You do very.
I was thinking that too. I'm glad you said that first, because I was like, I might jam here.
Yeah, because you don't have a 6 very much when you fold the turn. Like, you're probably folding a turn a bit with a 6. Like, especially the bad. Like, you're not going to have 6-5. The 5 being bad, so you're never going to river 2 pair with 6-5.
Right.
And your boat's going to be 10-4, 6-4,
Yeah.
5-4 if you're not going to raise the turn with the trips when you overbet.
And 6s, obviously.
So it's like, if you are going to have a bluff, and 10-6 is a little bit better than, 10-6 is better than 10-5 to call with. Well, maybe you want 10-6 to bluff jam, even though it's better than 10-5 because you block 6s, you know? Because with 5s, that he never has 5s in this line.
Unlikely, but he could.
He's probably not doubling 5s to an overbet on the turn.
Unlikely,
on
yes.
10-6-4-4. So
Very
it's like,
unlikely.
maybe you want to call 10-5 more, bluff 10-6, even though 10-6 is better, but they're still kind of the same when his value range is what it is.
Right.
I think we have less 10-6 though because we check raise 10-6 a lot on flop.
Yeah, it's possible. You probably mix it, especially if you have like 10 of diamond 6.
Yeah.
You're probably going to want to call more, and then if you have like a 10-6 without, definitely going to have some raises.
I think that's
so like
true.
frequency-wise, you also might even start folding some 10-5. Like, depends. Like when he overbets turn, like theoretically, you can be very, very selective as to how you continue because it's pretty likely the board is going to change or you're going to face another barrel.
Yeah.
Right. So it's possible. I wouldn't be surprised to see if your hand mixes some jams on the end.
Yeah, I
but
could
maybe
see
it
that.
mixes like call and jam.
I could see that.
Where you don't pure take one action or another.
Because we have a really nice hand for. Not only do we block some of the boats, but we unblock all of the stuff that we're trying to keep indifferent. Like like 7-8 is now indifferent against a jam because it doesn't have a boat, right? It doesn't block any boats. 7-8 now when we check jam, 7-8 is like a complete cage, and we unblock that completely. We unblock all the bluffs. We unblock any kind of overpair or the lower straight, like the 7-3 or something like that might decide to use that size on the river. So it just
I'm not sure if
feels nice.
7-8 is. I'm sure it's indifferent, but I would imagine it leans towards call. What do you think calls more, 7-8 or 4x?
I
would
4X.
assume 4x would call more because it blocks your boats.
Yeah,
You're repping
that's
boats.
fair.
That's kind of what
That's
I was
true.
basing
I'm
that
forgetting
on.
that the range construction has so many offsuit combos that like I'm just gonna have 6-4, 5-4.
Yeah, exactly.
Those types
this
of
is what I'm
hands.
thinking.
10-4.
I'm thinking he's like his bluff catches against a jam. Like it's really hard for him to call with a straight that doesn't block a house. Like
Right.
like to have 4x is way better.
Yeah. That's very reasonable.
I think that jam becomes a much better option if you think that your opponent is value betting too thin. Or if you think he's always taking jacks and aces to the face for 2.5x pot, now taking this hand and making him feel like shit is the way to go. But if you
Right. So
don't
that's
think
like what I
coming
couldn't
in-
figure out in real time. That's why I started with that. Is I don't know how much overpairs are getting fit into this size. And when I kind of arrived that I didn't think it was happening often, my hand felt really good to call.
Yeah.
Like that just like very naturally felt like, oh, okay, well, I'm not really getting owned here much outside of 7-8.
Right. I mean, if you do decide to take the jam route, 4x for him isn't even feeling that happy too.
True.
Right. It's like you're saying you have 6-4, 10-4, 5-4.
Yeah.
And then, so if you're doing that, you probably want to match your bluffs to be around the same type of thing.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I guess we got lucky then through the call. He did end up having 9-8, no diamond,
calling-
which is a pretty good bluff.
Calling's okay.
Yeah,
right?
no, of
it's
course,
just a matter of I don't even know if jamming is good, right? I just think it has merit.
Yeah.
He's also never going to bluff with the 5 of diamonds or 10 of diamonds in his hand, too.
Correct. That's true.
Nice.
You
got him.
I don't know if that's true about the 5 of diamonds.
It just says showdown versus you nut flush draws.
Yeah, that's probably true.
He just
That's
hopes
probably
that you have ace X of diamonds.
And he has enough 9-8 to just
Heads
pull
up,
from.
it feels like when we river a pair, we mostly check, whereas some other spots we river a pair and then we lost because we block stuff.
At least in this spot specifically, where you just have flush draws.
Yeah, if you're
that
going to have
can-
diamonds, you'd probably just rather have like the 3 or the deuce.
Yeah, you just want to unblock the board.
Yeah, seems to make most sense. Okay, yeah, I thought that hand was pretty interesting.
It was, and you won. Good job.
One for the bad guys.
Yeah.
The final hand of the session is the biggest hand that we've played thus far. This ends up being a 550k pot. So we buried the lead a little bit,
We
guys.
don't even need to talk about this one.
This one is a wild fucking hand. So I open to 1500. He 3-bets to 6k. I call. Flop is king of clubs, 6 of spades, 3 of clubs. We have 6 of clubs, 6 of diamonds. So middle set. He chooses like roughly third. He bets 42 into 12-4. I elect to slow play and call. I could probably raise. My thinking in real time was that I thought he was stabbing too much here.
Yeah, fair.
He was.
And I just didn't want to fold out everything. Turn, magic ace. This is gin for us. I'm strapping in, getting prepared to face like 2x pot, and he hits us with bet 75. Felt weird, felt bad, felt like could be aces some of the time, like fit into that size. Also felt like, it could just be fucking nothing, like, 8 high type of hands where he's setting up to triple. In any event, like he bets 15K into like 20,800. And I decided to slow play another street and just go for big river value.
I like this because he either has the super nothing like you're talking about, or he has the scarier hands that you're concerned about when he chooses B75.
Yeah.
Right? Because most of the time, if he's like ace king or something like that, he probably is going to go for an overbet.
Yeah, well, what was clear to me is like, I don't know what his hand is. I don't know how much equity his hand possesses, but it seems like it doesn't care much about protection. So it's like when you have bottom set, or middle set, I guess, it's like, well, on one hand, that is kind of scary because the hands that don't need protection are better sets than yours. But on the other hand, it kind of sucks because you don't just have him like fucking value owned here.
Yeah.
Where he has like ace king or ace 6 or ace 3 and you're just about to stack him.
It just depends how he's bucketing in that regards. If
Yeah,
he
yeah.
only has like the GO2 size on the turn, which would make sense, then aces would want to fit into the check. Just because it blocks all of it, and you're still going to go for value with your really good hands.
Right,
if
yeah.
he's king, it's probably want to go for the bet because he unblocks the ace that you're
Correct,
floating
yeah.
with.
Yeah.
So when he goes B75, it's kind of like a hedge. It's like a hedgy mix where it's like, okay, you probably have like something reasonably decent if you're betting 75, or you have straight nothing. And if I raise, you're probably folding both of those things. So it doesn't really give too much.
Or stacking
too
me.
much credence. Well, yeah, like if he has super nuts.
Yeah.
Right, but if he has like call it weaker ace and you just go for a GO2 raise.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's probably going to fold it.
In theory, my hand pure raises.
Yeah.
But in theory, like we play 1% raise frequency on turn. So it's like
Because
sixes.
you mostly raise flop,
it's
right?
Yeah, it's literally only like 6s and 3s that would ever choose to raise.
Yeah.
You
You ever have
can't-
like 4 or 5 of clubs or no?
in theory or in practice?
Theory.
In theory, no.
You only have set?
Yeah. There's just no bluff. Because you just don't, it's basically zero.
It's
you
not
know?
real, yeah.
It's a rounding
It
error.
feels like another spot a bit like the 10-9-7-5 hand where like it's a brick turn where he's supposed to bet really big and he doesn't bet that big, and now the whole tree gets kind of messed up because he has a less polarized range than he's probably supposed to.
Yeah.
It means now we have raises in a spot where theoretically we're not.
Yeah. I
really
mean,
gonna
at
have,
depth, like, being able to push a wider range through to the next street, not all that bad, especially if I'm not responding with raises.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're in the streets, man.
It's just predicated on bet size. Because if he goes B25 on turn, you definitely have raises.
Yeah.
You just need to get more money.
Right.
But when he chooses that size, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of whatever.
All right, show me, buddy.
Yeah, so we get to the river. The river's the 10 of hearts. And it rolls off, and I go, okay, that's an interesting card. So, we're probably gonna face something between like 3/4 pot and pot and a half. Like, am I raising here? How much am I raising? The larger size versus smaller, and then I look and he's all in.
It just hit you
for 5x pot.
The
I was like, well,
500%
that eliminates
pot.
that problem. I guess I don't have to raise anything.
Did he leave a big blind behind like a tournament?
That'd be so gangster. I tanked for an obscene amount of time. My immediate instinct was just like fold, just
This
fold.
is probably one of your only super long tanks.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if I
Match.
tanked for
he
longer
had a few, right?
Every time that
Every time
he
yeah,
tanked.
a lot.
Honestly, all of his long tanks resulted in folds.
Which
100% of them
yeah.
actually. And then a bathroom break.
Do you,
that was the sequence.
This is a little off topic, but do you think the long tanks are also part of the obvious stalling strategy that?
I do.
So I know for a fact. I've
Just because he ended all in folds.
I've played with him enough that he goes through this like 2 or 3 minute long routine and then always folds.
Yeah.
So there have been plenty of times both bluffing and value betting on the river where 30 seconds in, I knew for a fact he was 100% folding. But if you asked the dealer, you would think that he was on the edge of his seat to call.
Yeah.
And it all started with that first hand that we reviewed today with the ace queen where I value jammed the river and he tanked for like 8 minutes. before ultimately folding and saying like he had a really interesting hand, yada yada.
You start calling clock.
He was. I thought about it. I thought about it that exact hand, and then I hadn't really thought about it since.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to come full circle and just like
Just
2
call
minutes
clock.
in, just clock him.
Yeah.
Clock him.
Because like he's arrived at a call exactly 0% after going through like this whole. He'll cut out the chips. He'll try to decide, and like, you know, the whole time I'm like, oh, he's going through all these antics to get a read on me. Like, you know, I have to remain as neutral as possible. But the reality is he's just 100% of the time folding. It's all fanfare, right? It's just all fucking hoops he's trying to make me jump through to ensure that we don't play very many hands.
Like if it was a mix between like him calling, like sometimes he has some calls and you look and you're like, it's a tough spot. Like, okay, yeah, but it's just always folding. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Come on,
we've played
man.
enough
Come
of them
on,
now. We've played a
man.
dozen of these spots.
Like, and there's probably been, just based on what you're saying in the chat, there's probably been 30 to 40 minutes so far of him tanking on river.
For sure.
Compared to one hand where you tanked for
And the
50
honestly, the,
and yours, what does that mean?
and the biggest pots that we've
called.
played, where he's paid me off, are fast.
Right.
He pays me quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly. I'm never in the cage whenever it comes to him putting chips in the middle.
Right. So like eventually everything that he's doing is contributing to the number of hands in this match probably being cut down by like a third.
Listen, as the self-proclaimed Ian Rappaport of this poker match, I think that this next week will be clock gate.
Yeah.
So you're gonna start calling
Clock
clock every time he takes a reasonable enough time, call 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna get mad at the amount of times you call clock, and then he's gonna start trying to take breaks again.
Yeah.
This is why I said, I've been saying the other day, like he's gonna find a reason to quit.
wiggle his
Something's
way
going to
out.
happen
Yeah.
that is going to demand a ruling from Phil. Phil's going to make a completely fair ruling, and then Nick is going to be like, "That's bullshit. I quit."
I'll stop at Big Five on the way home. Get you a nice little stopwatch. I'm gonna get you a pretty one too.
I like that. I actually like that.
Put it on the table.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah, I think like I'll just make river bets and just start it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Instantly.
You should just show up with like a Flavor Flav clock around you.
Because like honestly, at this point, like I don't even care. Call or fold. Like it's weird playing heads up, knowing that like you're gonna get in volume of these spots or like a reasonable amount of volume of these spots. You don't sweat it as much as you do when you're playing ring, where it's like, okay, this is the one time all session I'm going to get the bet 250% pot.
Yeah.
I hope it goes my way. Like, you know, your win rate is dictated by these spots because they don't come up all that often, or at least not nearly as frequently. But here it's just like we're throwing out overbets every fucking hand.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely both action players. Where I'm sure in
Action
like
gamble, baby.
in normal like heads up situations, the amount of money that goes in from both sides in these pots is way too much. But you guys are here for
We're in the
war.
streets.
This is war.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a street
The
fight.
thing that is interesting, I guess, about a situation like this is that it's going. Were you conscious when you were tanking on the river of the effect that this one pot is going to have on like Nick's confidence and things like that?
That's why I said
like,
that thing out loud of like, well, if I call him wrong, you're basically
Right.
even, and that's
Yeah.
brutal for me. If I call him right, like you're gonna need to find some fucking chips.
Yeah.
And then I think like at some point my brain switched into like max greed, where it's like,
Yeah.
imagine if you're right.
How many iterations did you go through like in that 15
A
minutes?
lot,
Like,
a lot.
were you,
I was heavy fold
Yeah.
for like the first 4 minutes, and I mean like it took a lot of like. The thing is, like, to be heavy fold there, you're also just like not acknowledging that your hand is absolutely a pure call in theory.
It's also it's top of your range.
Right. It's like there's no part of me that ever like was like, well, my hand could do either. Therefore, I'll just take the cautious route this time and
Or I'll pick one.
Yeah. At no point was I thinking that. I was like, well, this hand never folds. This hand never folds, and I'm gonna fold. Like, so somewhere along the line, I just let the voice of this hand never folds greatly outweigh whatever it was that I initially felt or you maybe intuitively saw the first couple of minutes.
Do you think that was the deciding factor? And maybe I don't want you to have to get too much into like what you think of Nick's tendencies, but like, were you calling because you sometimes beat value or because you think he has enough bluffs?
I don't think I beat value there.
Okay,
I don't
so
think he
you're-
jams ace
so
king
you're-
or ace
you're-
10.
Yeah, okay, fair
Well,
enough.
because he probably doesn't.
Right. I don't even think he jams aces or kings.
It seems very scary when he can just get only called by. If you're expecting only to get called by queen jack and chop and like hope you find a free roll,
Right.
danger.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just like kept thinking about it. It's like, well, if he just has like the queen of spades or the queen of clubs in his hand, what a great spot to just fucking rip. Like if you just have ace queen with a spade or club and you're just like, I'm not so sure I have the best hand right now. But that's such a leap, right? Because ace queen is just worth so much on the end.
Big hand.
Yeah, it's a
you
big
just have a king in your hand.
Really,
a lot.
what it came down to was like, oh, well, if he just has like queen 10 of spades or queen 10 of clubs and just rivered bottom or third pair, whatever, and it's just not good. Why not just be all in?
Queen 10 of clubs is a beautiful hand for it.
Queen 10 of spades too.
Yeah.
I only have 2 combos of queen jack.
You only have the. I mean,
there was only one flush draw.
Yeah, there's only one flush draw on flop.
Yeah.
So you
I
probably
have 2 combos.
Oh right, so
I called
see.
the back door.
You
He
called,
bet
sorry,
third pot on the flop.
I thought you were saying there was spades on the turn.
No. I'm just saying I would have called flop and then facing B75 at an SPR of like 25. I'm probably gonna peel a gut shot.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So you might have a hand that theoretically probably folds because it's hard to win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I would think that Queen 10 of clubs would be much better for it, and Jack 10 of clubs, right? Just because it is very certain that you have those hands.
Yeah, it's near 0 that I have the nuts now.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a very gangster.
Gangster.
That would be a very good
I gave
one.
the guy a lot of credit.
But like, it shouldn't happen. You hit
That was
5x
your
fucking
first
pot,
mistake.
man.
Yeah. So this was what, a 550k pot?
A little bit over, yeah.
Where does that rank in biggest pots you've played?
Number 1.
No.
Of the match.
Played
I thought you meant heads up
Not
as a
of the
match.
match. I mean, your
match?
career.
Oh.
Your career.
Right, in my career,
You've played $1 million
top 50.
pots. Okay.
I've played my biggest pot ever was 1.7 million, I think, and I've maybe closer to 2.
Wow.
Was that the simple hand?
No, that was only a $1.1 million pot.
Only.
We got 500k in on the turn.
Only a 1.1
Comparatively speaking.
There was 100k in the middle, and we got 500k in on the turn.
Yeah,
was your $1.7 million hand heads up as well with
No. I beat him slowly. It was against Marcus. I probably have a dozen $1 million pots alone versus just Marcus.
Gotcha.
But I think the $1.7 million one was me versus Marcus versus. It might have been Aaron Zhang.
Not
but
frying pan
I don't think it was. No, Marcus Rua.
I had to clarify for the
It ended up being a 3-way all-in, where Marcus and I were like 800k. No, a little less. We were probably like 600k effective, and I can't remember who the third person was. Maybe it was Rui Cao. I don't know. It was one of the Macau players, but he had like 300 or 400k, and I had set over set. I think I set over set Marcus. It was like an 8-5 deuce board. And I had 8s, he had 5s. And then the third player had like queen 9 of diamonds for the flush draw. And I just held for all of it.
Wow.
But yeah, no, like between 2014 and 2016, I played a lot of 7-figure pots. The game was just very, very big then. But since then, more particularly like, where does this rank on biggest pots that I've played without having a backer? This is probably like top 3.
Yeah.
I just played a 600k pot last week at Bellagio, but again, 3-way all in. So I was only at risk for. I actually wasn't at risk for anything because I had the guy dead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I lost 60k on the side.
Queen's hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So here's another question. How many pots bigger than this do you think you will play the rest of the challenge? Do you think this is likely to be the biggest one?
I think it would be hard to play a bigger pot, to be honest.
Because it feels really hard to play bigger than $500,000 when you're playing 200, 400.
I think it'd be really hard.
You would
but
think
man,
that. You would think.
The money went in pretty
if someone
fucking
can
easily.
find a way to these two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just have to like, every time I arrive at river and have a really strong hand, I'm all in.
Bomb in.
If I do it enough, like eventually he's gonna get annoyed and like find a fucking call.
Yeah.
Like I'm all in.
Maybe you just have to start like 15xing pre just to bloat those pots.
I mean, the 5x has been going interestingly.
Man, the annoying part about it is when you have top set just being top of range and he says, of course I have the nuts there. I owned you. It's like, I literally just had the only hand that will actually give you money.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of will I do it or not.
Having the nuts is not owning someone.
Also, right after that, he did say like 9 other hands that he would have that he would bluff.
Fake hands.
On the Jaffe spaces or whatever.
I mean, he said he'd have queens and jacks with the club on king 6-3 ace for B75.
Yeah.
Jack 10.
Keep cooking, bro. Keep cooking. Jack 10 of clubs is reasonable.
Yeah.
Jack 10, queen 10 of clubs is like the only 2 hands.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys hear that? On that note,
hold on, this just in. Breaking news.
The Pittsburgh Pirates won today.
I'm sorry to my New England friends out there, but we did sweep the Boston Red Sox
And
Boston.
I hate some Red Sox, so woohoo! I want to say thank you for joining me and Tortua here at the Only Friends podcast today. Hunt, it was a pleasure having you today.
As always, pleasure to be here.
And on that note, we will be back tomorrow. We're out.
Peace.
See you guys.